Hello everyone, and welcome to another Siege and Sandfox live stream. Please excuse me, we've had a few technical issues, so I do actually need to look over to the screen more than normal. Hopefully everything is fine. Don't you just love running multiple audio devices on the same computer? So, joining me as usual is Aidan Howe. I'm going to turn on now, hopefully. Hello?
Am I here?
You're here. I think you're here.
Okay.
To be honest, we've had a pretty good run for technical issues, particularly on the audio side, so I think we were kind of overdue. But do let us know in the chat if everything sounds normal, which hopefully it does. So I'll pretend that everything is normal, much like I normally do in life, and move straight over to the game. So
This
I'm not
is fine, .gif.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not actually going to, roam around the editor to start with, because we normally do that. But this is just to remind me that actually a huge amount has changed since we were last here. And I'm just going to pull up my notes quickly, because I had to totally turn off my computer a minute ago, which was not ideal. Just a minute. Incredibly professional here. There we go. I know, right? I was like, oh, I'll make notes and have them ready just before, and then I had to do an unexpected restart. Okay. So we can actually go over to the actual package build. It's so nice being able to regularly package builds that just work. I'll turn on my pad. There we go.
Well at last.
Yeah. Though, to be honest, I don't think this main one should really go backwards. Well, yeah, actually, we've discussed this off stream, but I think it's certainly an area where we'll put our collective feet down. Like, this particular, branch shouldn't go too far backwards, because we kind of need it. Okay, so the first thing I realized that last time we showed it, we didn't actually show that little sequencer intro of the Sandfox falling. And it's a pretty minor thing, but I like the way that it links together to the intro, which, one day will be good enough for you guys to see, but it kind of bridges the gap. And also, it's just one of those things that feels like it'll take 5 seconds, but in reality doesn't. Like, to get it now that it blends perfectly with the start position camera was non-trivial, but it works now, so hey, Is
it mixed between perfect code and then, oh, there's still one tiny pop?
Yes, exactly.
Just move it so it's in the same place and everything's fine.
So that's nice. So, and something else we can show as well, which is new, is it was in development before, but now is, it's much better, is if I just hold here for a little bit. Come on, I think there's one here. There we go. So this was kind of half working before. Joe had started work on it, but now we have a user triggerable ghost. So it'll show when we think you're in trouble. In other words, when you've been in a certain area for a certain amount of time, and you can press Y and you can show it, and then it will eventually reset like that. Again, all of this probably sounds super obvious, but it really wasn't. It was difficult to get here because it used to, we'd have it looping, or it'd start too early or too late, and then that way it gets in your way and it's really annoying. This is about right. I think that, if you know what to do and you don't ever want to be shown, you don't have to activate it, and we'll obviously work on the effect to make it a little more ghostly. But it's certainly in a happier place than it's been for a long time, and they turn on and off. I think even in the stream like a couple of weeks ago, we'd already got over this, but there was this very unfortunate time where multiple ghosts would activate at the same time, and then those ghosts would activate other features in the game. It was, yeah, not so good. Right, what else? Just having a look. Yeah, so this bit actually, one of the few areas that's actually remained pretty stable. I'd love to say it was all by design, but I don't know, it just seems to just do the thing. It certainly exposed a number of bugs with the climbing up and down, but and something I have noticed here, actually, while we're here, is that this is one of the places where we don't blend. Like when I press, in fact, if I still got the pad overlay here, oh, I have, yeah, nice. I can go back to the game here. So this is one of the few areas where we don't do this thing where if I press B and down and start pressing left, really it should just start moving left straight away, like a little bit of because we do that, for example, with the ladders. Like if I press up, it starts moving up before the animation even finishes. Yep. And it makes this feel just a little creaky, but okay, so yeah, we'll just move through this bit because it's pretty much unchanged.
I think that's something that'll get revisited quite soon, though. I mean, now that we're spoilers, but we're changing the way we're doing ladders. Every time you cross a non-solid like that is now always an explicit thing that happens. It's not
I have a list.
Yeah, well, yeah, indeed. Fine, another list.
So last time we were here, this was back in sort of white box mode with the orange tiles. I remember that the water wheel, I'd just done the classic sort of designer move of shoved it over there, and then it was Art's problem, and Art's done it. So this is, it's not finished, but you can see the water wheel's got a bit of a base, and you know, it doesn't look like what I did. I just dragged it over there. It's something we can revisit again in the future for sure, because I think we can make this work. You know, I think we can make everything point to this thing here and make it look as much as anything does like it actually works, but I feel like we'll see in a minute when we get up the top. I think, yeah, it seems so much more balanced there. So this bit as well has changed from last time. I added the door here to try and slow people down, because the main problem was this gap used to be wider up here, and everyone would come up here and they would just, not everyone, most people would come up here and just do this kind of repeatedly. Which I can't blame them for. So the other thing was they do, and I think we're kind of getting on top of that. But the other thing as well is that when this gap was wider, you know, the gap from the wall to the ledge here, even though I knew that it worked because we made it, it always felt weird. So I've just kind of made it shorter and made it more like some of the other hops we have later on in the game. We've had a few people look at it. It seems to work. Some people still just run into the door, which again, I can't blame them. We probably need to have a little think about, you know, the literal run up to it, because you kind of end up doing that. But
you encountered the door somewhat oddly.
Yes.
Coming up some stairs into the door is a little bit strange for I mean, it's first door. So we had a first door problem in that the first doors that you dealt with weren't ideal because they were locked, or, you know, you can just go, oh, hey, a door, sweet, I'll open it. I mean, there's maybe an opportunity to put another one in at the bottom of that column under there.
Yeah, I thought about it, and maybe I will. This room's going to have another couple of goes at it, because now, like, so this view now, like, I'm so much happier with it now. Like, even though the water doesn't work yet, but this just feels so much nicer.
That whole sequence is correct now. I mean, obviously it needs polishing for when the precise ordering in which the fireworks go off, you know, turning off, things opening, bats flying, and the wheel turning, and the wheel needs to interact with the water, and we need a water plane, but you can see what the final shape of that is there, and I don't think we need to.
I mean, it's a common theme you'll see as we go through this.
That jump, I keep meaning to bring this up to just cut that off, that little knobble there, because
it doesn't need to be there anymore.
It does. It certainly doesn't, and like, even if you run off there, I think you hit it.
Yeah, probably.
So it feels sort of bad.
What was I going to say? Yeah, you see we've got a number of places now where, like, as you said, we kind of got all the fireworks, but we let them all off at once now. But that's more an issue that before this milestone, we weren't, like, kind of realizing all the stuff we could do with sequencer, and something coming up later we can have a look at that you can kind of see that, yeah, that'll work. But now we've got this mysterious thing, which now kind of makes sense, sort of, kind of. Boop. So yeah, hey, it doesn't do anything yet, but
it's not a ham anymore as well.
It's not a ham anymore.
It's plainly not a ham. If anyone tried to eat that, they'd be in trouble.
A little while ago, there was a placeholder image there that you'll see again later that was for a piece of ham, and clearly that's not right. But yeah, little collectible objects like that. It's something you need to draw people's eye, and you know, we might be able to turn them into something more, we might not, but they're nice to have. It still kind of makes me think of the Quake 3 shotgun shells a little bit too much, but we can talk about it later. Having it as a functional item, you know, is cool, and you know, I'm an old man now. Children don't know what Quake 3 is, they're not going to think that necessarily, so we'll just see what happens.
Oh, you Quake 3 whippersnapper.
Exactly. Okay.
I remember when the Quakes were just Quakes.
Yeah, me too.
We didn't have 3 of them.
Right. Okay. That bug finally got fixed, by the way. Oh, so good. So for the longest period of time, if you went right to the top of this pillar and did this, you disappointingly bumped off it and fell down here, and it was very upsetting.
Just
and it was only the first time as well. Even better.
I suppose if we couldn't have got that fixed in time, at least we could have put a volume in there just to go.
There are strange creatures in
when
the
you hit it, because it was awful, like really awful. It wasn't actually that jump. It was just when you hit the perfect angle, you would just drop off. Yeah. So we were lucky actually that we got that repro case so easily on the demo route. But hey, it's fixed now.
So the map is still the last thing that, yeah, has kind of fallen a bit behind. But yeah, there's some pretty easy stuff to do to fix it. The main problem we have, and the funny thing is, I've forgotten that we've made this trailer that we'll release at some point, but one of the shots of it is of the map doing exactly what it just did now. At the time, it was all mocked up, and now it mostly does that, but with one crucial difference. So at the moment, there's just nothing between these two locations, and quite rightly, people are just like, okay, what does that really mean?
Yeah.
And in the trailer one, it was filled in enough that you could kind of see what was going on. So yeah, we'll be doing that, adding some context. But yeah, it's coming a little late. And also, as we were discussing as well, that again, I am not quite sure what the flow is here, which is why I dare not force it in before our milestone. But like, there needs to be something I would like to try is we have a little icon, like a little text icon, no, speech bubble icon that you can put above their heads to be like, hey, I have a map related thing to tell you. And you know what, probably like for her it's kind of okay because we make it that you basically can't get past without noticing you can talk to her. But later people, you know, we might want to try having, you know, the map thing come up when you're near them, at least for a couple of people, because I notice that when people play it they don't necessarily talk to them. But we'll come back to that as well again because there's more map stuff, more map people. So this room coming up has had some changes as well. I remember before we talked about how we wanted to add a bit more direction, draw people's eyes up over to the left a little bit. And so yeah, I think it's getting there. So the statue is the statue here is, it's still technically background, but it's, even if it isn't literally, it feels much closer to, you know, the foreground layer. It's more noticeable. It couldn't be more pointing towards the top left, really, if possible. And then the added sweet candy of these fireflies, which everyone loves. So
yeah, we discussed this last time, didn't we? That we wanted to move it down and break some of the softer cavey lines in the top left, so that there was this harsh, sudden transition there.
And it nearly works. Well,
out.
I'll rephrase that. It pretty much does work. So we've had a few people playtest who've never played the game before, and I would say it's probably still taking a little longer than I would like for people to kind of realize, but that's compared to not that long ago when no one would ever realize. So it's definitely.
I mean, when it first went in this form, I was straight over there. I mean, I know, and I got to this point and was like, "Ooh, go over there and look at that." So if it's doing that, I suppose we win. We just need to be able to pull people back right. I suppose the thing to do would be, as soon as, to let them and kind of let the point of interest settle on that while you're there. But as soon as you step past that mushroom, the point of interest go, all right, Sonny James, time to look over here. Forget about that. And that might telegraph it clearly enough. So
another thing from playtesting as well is that this is the first one of these where you kind of go behind it. Interestingly, most people just did it anyway, so I didn't think about it. But a few people pointed out that, like, well, I don't know that I can get through this. So Keith kind of made it look extra inviting.
That ramp is the main thing. I think,
the ramp helps a lot. I wanted to put a rat in there, but fun fact, the rats use a simplified version to detect ground, so they would just float up off the surface over here, which is not what I wanted. So maybe later. Though, as it's the same with everything, nothing is for free. And now I discovered that because this is a lovely ramp, you end up like right, of course now I've just said that I'm not going to do it, but you often end up like right on the edge of this before you jump, which doesn't feel great. But
I think we can. I think we can afford to play with space there a little bit more.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine for now. In general, everything's working, but it's like, yeah, just the iterations never end.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So this hasn't changed much, I don't think. We'll discuss it, you know, when it happens. But there's some fixes for ladders that will help make this feel better, because obviously it's pretty ladder based. But yeah, it kind of just, as always, mostly worked. So that's good. And then I was just talking to Bren before this, and we should definitely, you know, do an audio focus thing, because at least in my experience, whenever you do live streams like this, it's just impossible to get a good idea of what it sounds like while also not talking over it at the same time. But there's a bunch of stuff been going on here, so I'll shut up a second. You never know if you're going to get a good one, which is probably, like, for you to tell me what this is. because yeah, I don't really understand. What does it do? Tell me.
It's hard to really get a feel for it without going and opening multiple ones.
Yeah, I'll keep moving, but like, what's the basic idea? Because you know,
Bren described it best. It's currently trying to improvise. Where to start? So the dynamic music system is always going to be in a key. If you're doing music right, I guess you're in a key. So each of those chests are capable of being opened and improvising a kind of Eastern harmonic minor feeling little noodle. Completely. I mean, we won't be using them for those unlocks, but for any kind of generic collectible, it'll do one of those little licks, and I don't want to say completely random because they're not.
But I mean, the important thing is, right?
Example of procedural music is every time you collect something, you'll get a unique audio celebration that's based around not only the scale or mode that we want it to be in, music nerds, but also the key that it's been played, the key that it's been played against. So when you're in the environment and we move to a different key, it'll know that and play in the correct scale, etc. So that's pretty cool. It's the first part of the procedural music system that we've got. Bren will let me know if I've butchered that. But yeah, it's... Oh, wait, he already has. Yeah, Phrygian Twiddles. There we go, everyone. That's the mode we're in for the music nerds.
Making up words.
Yeah, making up crazy words.
What was that one I said to you the other day that I did counted for the first time, and I was just like, that's just made up. That's not a real word.
Was it the Ionian, the Locrian?
I don't know.
It was one of those. It might actually be the Phrygian one that we're using, but yeah, music theory, man. It's fun. Let's not talk about it anymore. Because I'm going to reach the limits of my knowledge. But yeah, it's the first example of the dynamic music system actually triggering a dynamic instrument in sequence with a piece of music that sounds like it could have been not necessarily hand authored, but improvised. You know, if you had to improvise a little lick over what's going on in the music at the time, that's what those chests do now. Which is pretty cool. Oh, we've got another one. Yeah. So yeah, as Bren mentioned, most of the time they sound Persian, but sometimes they go a little bit Starsky and Hutch. So nice bug to have, I guess. Yeah.
Right, so yeah, not too much different here, but then yeah, this yeah, kind of works. It's getting there. The only thing with these that makes me sad now is, again, as everything gets a bit smoother, like when you're doing all the wall runs, like how long it takes you to you know, come up from the mantle, it just feels like an age. I definitely think if you're like, you know, you're wall running up a thing. Oops. Oh no. This only happens when I'm streaming. I think it's... Well, actually, to be fair, I've got the editor open as well, so this machine isn't as sprightly as it used to be.
For me, that one doesn't happen in package, but it happens in Pi, but it seems to be performance related, so...
Yeah, yeah, as I said, like, yeah, this machine, it's not the all-powerful machine it used to be anymore, so what am I running? Packaged and editor and streaming. And Chrome, oh my god. How can anything run at the same time as Chrome? Oh, that guy's actually running after me. Anyway, so yeah, this is all pretty much the same, but I like it, it works, and I was reassured to see someone play through this for the first time, and it pretty much all clicks. All the problems, to be honest, tended to be related to their expectations of what the AI would or would not do, which is to be expected, because yeah, you know, the AI stuff is kind of on hold until we can have more Joe time. He's currently unavailable. Okay, but then the other, of course, big area is I realized, do you remember how disappointing the mushrooms were last time? Do you remember that you just walked over them and the fireflies just went meh and didn't go anywhere?
Yep.
Yeah, well now they're going places. Also,
it was the Mixolydian, Chris. I remembered.
It was. I saw that word and I'm like, nah, come on. Can you spell it? I know I can't.
Don't even know the Mixolydian, but you don't even know the Lydian upon which it is based.
I do not.
It's just got extra mixo, mate. So.
Right, okay, here we go. Oh yeah. What is this? Are these also real-time synthesized?
They are partially real-time synthesized, yeah. So they're a mixture of, I mean, again, they're all instruments. They're not, triggered audio. There might be some author-triggered components, but they're either using the sample instrument or they're using the synthesizer instrument. These are, in fact, using both, I think. There was a version that we had that was purely synthesized, but it wasn't quite meaty enough. But I think that's mostly a thing for second pass when talking over these. I shouldn't be really, but when we go back and do a second sound design pass over these, I'd like for these to be entirely synthesized.
Again, this whole run is like all the components are there. It's just having a sweet rubber band controller set up so those fireflies are always just ahead of you, and then having the mushrooms fire like as you pass rather than starting to fire as you pass, all that kind of stuff. But the components are there, like I can see it all work. Which,
hey, we have a Molly Ghost in chat. Hey, Molly.
Oh.
Welcome.
I guess whose chat isn't working again. That's right.
You can't see chat.
That's mine.
Oh, no.
I popped out the chat and everything. I don't know. It just hates me.
Doesn't want you to know what people are saying, Chris, because they're all saying incredibly mean things about you. Yeah.
Well, that wouldn't be any different to usual. Right. Yes. Lockpicks. I'm looking forward to doing a second pass on these because I think I have a pretty good idea how it's going to work, which we can talk about, and also we can talk about it a little bit now. So I think like let's get up to another one so we can look at it just a sec. These are the only...
I'm not fond of switching sides there when you jump across.
Oh, really? Here?
Yeah, when you climb up here and then you have to
Good,
double
because you know what? It's actually going to enter, spoilers for the near future, my little book of I hate this, stop doing it. Like stuff where you climb up and then immediately have to go the other way.
And then double that.
I hate it. Absolutely hate it. But it's,
I don't think we're going to be able to avoid it entirely because we are...
No.
However... I think we can avoid it early on. All of that world telegraphing should be very, very clear and not lead you by the nose places because that's no fun. But
agreed,
should push you in the right direction for at least the first third, and then we can't possibly maintain it because you'll be crisscrossing the map all over.
Completely agreed. It's just like this early when we are sort of choreographing the route, as you say, like stuff where you go one way, then to immediately turn the other way. I'm just like. Anyway, what was I going to say about this? So, we were talking about how we're going to make this more difficult and work multiple times. And, hey, you know what? I'll just say this live so I can happily have people shoot me down for something I haven't considered. I think actually probably how we can make this work is at the moment, when you just press nothing, it times out and you fail. Which I realise now that you can cancel it, probably just doesn't need to be a thing. Like, it should probably just cycle back round. Like, you don't need to fail because you took too long. And actually, I think what you can do, right, is you can just make it cycle forever, and it can just get bigger and bit like the win area can just get bigger and bigger and bigger until it just opens itself. Because the thing is, when you're under pressure later, you won't be able to do that anyway.
That's quite nice. So I remember early on I wanted different, like multiple lanes of it, depending on how many tumblers the lock had, so you would just have to wait out 3 or 4 lanes, and that's how we make doors more difficult, is we just add more lanes and change the hots.
Open them all now.
But I actually quite like just having that single hotspot because it keeps it nice and quick, which it feeds into the fantasy of I am Thief Saw, and I can just open the door like that,
So that's what I was thinking, is that you could have... You only ever have one swing-o-meter, whatever the hell you want to call it. But you could have one that's, say, like multiple pins, and each time you win, there's another pin. So you can have 3 or 4 before it probably starts to look weird.
Yep.
And you can say if you fail one, you go back one, and maybe, I don't know. But the realization was that, like, just failing by timeout doesn't need to be a thing. I think you can just be like, if you... I don't know, you don't like it, you're not very good at it, or other reasons that aren't clear, you know what, you can just take longer, and it gets easier and easier and easier. And like I said, I realized that actually it can probably just complete. I don't think that hurts anything. Like if I did this and it just took, for argument's sake, let's say 3 passes and it just opened. So I think that's probably fine.
I really like that. I think that so I mean, we've talked about it just being the slow way of doing it, because that's enough of a trade in this game, is standing next to a door too long.
Look how close we are. Oh, there's still a pan.
Oh, the pan's still there. Oh well.
Sorry, carry on.
Rip my dreams. Yeah, because we want you to be able to just sit there and let it time out, and you spent time and it doesn't make a noise. So if you hit the button because you're a daring cat, that might make a noise. If that's a failure state where it'll make a noise, right? So yeah, that sounds good to me. And also it means that you're always given an opportunity to do it earlier. And if you do just waste it out, it's visually clear as well that the zone is 100%. So you win by default. You've picked it. But yeah, that sounds good. And
it's one of those things where it's like
of screen space as well, which is good.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I think it'll work, but then someone will play it and tell me why it doesn't work. But I look forward to that day. But the thing is, for now, it's a placeholder. No one. Well, good things about it. I'm still not bored of it, even though obviously it's super easy. It's a nice, simple action. Obviously, we didn't invent it. It's very popular, but it still feels nice. I don't hate it. And also, whenever we've had people play it of various, skills and abilities and other games they've played, everyone has understood it, and we don't explain it like explicitly, and everyone understands it. So
everyone can play links.
So I'm just not going to argue with it. Right. So the other thing is, I think a lot of this before was probably white box. Yeah, look at that. You nearly saw me, but you're too.
This is repurposed box. We had
yes.
This has existed for quite some time, but it needed the wheels putting back on it. And this is another thing. At some point, maybe because you increased the run speed, I don't want to blame you entirely, but you can
probably
jump all of the gaps here now.
Probably
be able to jump.
Physics. How does it work?
Physics. Does it work? If only we knew, Chris.
While we're talking about
reality,
my little book of things that must never happen. No, never this. I hate it so much. Like, yeah, this little nubbin to get stuck in, and
well,
then
yeah, it's a markup fix, I think. But sometimes when you get spaces like that, the markup fixes start to look weird. That you can't
agreed. I think it's less like, oh, we never do this, but it's like we need to think about it, because I think actually what it is, it's less one single tile hop feels a little awkward but fine, but here it's like two.
Yeah,
and it just feel it's basically like it's kind of it's highlighting the weakest area of our controller, which is these tiny little standing jumps. Like they're not great.
Again, we've made the suggestion for a while that it doesn't dump all of your momentum as soon as you touch a surface as well, which is what tends to happen. So in those things where you're underneath it and you're acting like a little rocket ship that's thrusting against it for a while, it probably expels you backwards to the grab point and you would grab it, and then all of those issues kind of just disappear. But
by the way,
speculation though.
Also, when I get whatever we call these things, where they show you the location you're in, pop up here. As you said, the reason they don't work, I remember you saying, is because they're like centered to the camera, and nothing in our game is now. I don't think we have a single UI element that is grounded to the camera.
Yeah. I mean, we moved them off the bottom right of the screen, and I always liked them there. And I think if they show up in the bottom right, you'll always catch them. But yeah, totally, because the player character is never. I mean, like I said, we based it on Dark Souls does this, so let's do it. It's like, Dark Souls always has. You're always staring at your character's bum in the middle of the screen in Dark Souls.
Yes. Yeah.
Like when you put some text across that bum, you're going to notice it.
And
whereas for us, bottom right felt really good, particularly if they slide on nice and kinetically.
Yeah,
fade in now, like under your perception. Whereas something that slides on from the right is nice and kinetic and attention grabbing. Sounds good to me.
There's two ways we could do it. Either something like that, I agree. I mean, or the long shot, which I was thinking is like, oh, maybe this will work. Is actually because we control absolutely where they appear. Maybe you might better put them in world. Like this one is, why it reminded me, because this one's not a bad example. Like with this one here, imagine if like, let me get my mouse, give me some mouse action. It was written here somehow. This is where you can tell I'm not an artist. But I just thought, well, maybe you could do that. As in it's attached to that location, so you just kind of walk past it. And then of course, obviously there are some places where that doesn't work. And the thing to discuss another time and upset art is like, well, you could look at it and go, the times where it doesn't work, A, do we definitely need that one? And B, if we absolutely need that one, could we stick in, you know, a little art room? I mean, a room probably about this big, like the size of this up there, to get some text in. Don't know, just, anyway, I think it's always fun to just bring stuff up in here that I haven't actually said out loud before.
Keith said like Splinter Cell conviction, which is exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, it is, yeah. I mean, yeah, there's there are some, in fact, you know what, I've just realised, they must have come out about the same kind of time. Is it called like Stealth Inc. or something? There's some other 2D stealth game, quite old now, that does everything. Everything's written on the walls. And I think that's too much, but anyway, yeah. Splinter Cell Conviction, why not? But that wasn't that one like... Was it? I want to say, was it Man on Fire or something? There was a movie that did it, and lots of video games at the time went, let's do that. But yeah, maybe it works. I don't know. If Keith's just mentioning examples rather than just being, I hate that. Who knows? Maybe. But anyway, so this was all definitely white box before.
Yeah. It's amazing because it's basically the same shape. Which, either means that I did such an incredible job with the shape that Art wanted to keep all of it, or they're thinking this shit ain't staying. We're getting rid of this as soon as possible.
It's just like me playing it for real. I didn't know that was there.
You didn't know that was there?
No, I didn't know that was there.
Yeah, it's
I'm playing my own game, one of those rare moments.
Ollie wanted that. Boop. He said, this looks like a collectible spot. And I said, you're right. And now it's a collectible spot. Ultimately, that won't be a collectible spot because that'll head westward to the cradle or similar.
Yeah. The only thing that reminds me is this is the first time I've seen this ladder is too big. It's fine for now, but that's offended my ladder senses.
That's maximum ladder.
Yeah, that's
Beyond
it for me. I'm just like, this is too much. It's fine for now, but yeah, I don't know what it is because it might not even be the longest one we have, but just for some reason I'm like, no.
The waterfall, but the waterway in the middle has gone all green and gross. It was really blue and idyllic tropical looking before. This is correct, obviously, but man, did it look good before. There's there's a place in the cradle where we need some nice clear blue water anyway to look good.
Right, anyway, let's get over here. I feel like there probably should be a light over here somewhere, but I'm not going to fight about it. Whee! So now we're getting the ham for real. I know that fake ham. Delicious ham.
Oh wait, yeah, this is pretty. Is this the Is this what is up on the testing branch?
Yeah, I think so. It's pretty.
A dude up there to patrol that just to.
Oh, there may have been one more packaged before I, yeah, you know, did it.
Maybe
it's pretty close.
He's just not showing up. It's just because it was a little bit easy up there.
There we go. There's the ham.
Delicious.
The placeholder. I like the way that it's just a classic Keith move. It's like, I've drawn some ham, which for many people, that's good enough ham. But he's like, I want it to be clear. This is not my best ham.
This is not final ham. We get it. Big red placeholder. Actually, one thing that I put in today that well, we should discuss later, but come up now is I'm not really keen on the parchment look for all of those icons because it means that they're all basically beige.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
And I think we should probably have nice, not necessarily vibrantly colored icons, but you know what I mean. Having them two color is not doing us any favors.
So I'm sure obviously you already understand this, but just for people watching, just to be clear. So for example, when I was saying like, oh, you know, the lockpick minigame could just kind of solve itself if you wait long enough. Anytime you've got any kind of pressure like here, it kind of balances itself out because if you want to get through there quickly, you're going to want to do it properly. But if
that's what was nice having the other guy. So the other guy's patrol took him up to underneath that kind of grate thing in the ceiling on the left. So he would see you, probably see you at that door, depending on how deeply you walked into it before.
Oh, actually, you know, this cool thing that's happening. Kinda, he's noticed that door's open.
Oh, nice.
I know. He doesn't quite respond properly. Oh no!
Oh no! Don't crash the game, please.
Yeah.
Please, sir.
He was doing so well.
Don't touch the door.
Welcome to Video Game II. It's like he did a beautiful thing, and now he's ruined it. Now you die.
Best to kill him before he does any
Anyway,
harm.
yes, open doors are, well, doors that change state from their initial state generate interest sources, so it works. It's just not ready. Speaking of bugs, let's see if I can do this again. Okay, didn't do it this time. I'll try again. We're not going to fix this, by the way, but well, we're going to
manage to get a cute jump.
Oh no, sometimes I did it and I just fly up into the air forever. It's amazing.
Please don't do that.
Oh, won't do it. Mr.
I want to see if this next dude's moving to see if this is fixed. Sorry, stream, but
anyway,
we've got to address bugs too sometimes. Nope, he doesn't care. Damn.
Just him, huh? Well, now I know who he is. I'll seek him out.
Him. Yeah, I think it's something to do with the nav. It's got to be the nav mesh there.
It usually is.
He does it once, and then on the return journey, he just gets stuck there. So
probably. He's also one of the few people where we've got the whole color shift thing, so we've got loads of different ethnicity characters. He's probably the only one who's like in an area where he's hard to see. Because everywhere else, I think it's worked great. Yeah, it's really nice.
Well, the infinite skin color.
The infinite skin color generator. Yeah, it's really nice. And I also really appreciate it because it's one of those, well, you know, it's what we're all about, supposedly. It's like, you know, a modern feature that a game of the time never would have had, but you can just throw it in there and it doesn't stand out as weird, and we didn't have to redraw every character. I say we, I mean obviously. Yeah, door opens. That was my achievement for the day. I'm not even joking. And then so this is like the final bit.
That's a pretty good achievement, Chris. Don't worry, you didn't approach a document intended to shave 1,000 words off it and actually end up adding 200.
So yeah, this is nice. The only thing is, because yeah, we don't want to pat ourselves on the back too much. We still definitely have the issue where things are just whiting out. Like things here are like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? It's blown out big time. It's still, the overall impression is nice, but yeah, there's too much. Yeah. But that's, I'm sure Keith is gnashing his teeth right now. It's a lot to do with, you know, changes they've made to the tone mapper and stuff. You know, for games that are realistic, this is probably correct. But for us, it's not working so well. But no, this has really come together, this little space. It's nice. It doesn't do anything yet.
It's just misty in there. That doesn't help.
Ah, right. I've also just noticed. Is he too far down? Or whatever his name is. Like his feet are.
Oh, yeah.
God, I hope someone gets fired for that blunder.
He's also really tall. I don't know.
It's fine, but I just noticed. And then so literally the only question left for our little demo thing is if what we'll do is, I think what I've asked Joe to do is just put a volume like here, in, you know, a smallish one in the middle that just goes, well, that's it, thanks for playing. And the other option was going to be that you could have another guy, for argument's sake, let's say here, that just goes, well, this is it. If you go through this door, it's over.
Well, I mean, we could move Rashawn down there if you want.
Yeah.
Save him from being perfectly perched on that railing up there, because we do need
a good time.
Yeah, well, I mean, what balance, huh? For such a large man. Yeah. Well, I'm quite keen on turning the interaction on all of these NPCs off and just starting to, when you run in there, just fading it out as you get into
the room.
So you've got enough time to start taking it in, because it's a really pretty room. And it's a nice combination of colors that we've not used before with the prison tile set. Thus far, it's all been very green and brown to nice, finally. Yeah, green and brown in the midden to make it look dirty and smelly and awful. And into the gambling den there, we're starting to get more reds and blues coming through. So
I love the way this looks like someone just scribbled on it, but that's a spline path, honest. So there isn't too much more to say, but I think I did want to mention quickly. So our lift sequence, let's have a look at that if I can find it. Because this is one of these things where it's like, oh, this won't take that long. And then it really did. Let's just see if it's going to work. I'm manipulating on the other screen. Yeah. Okay, so this is, we won't go into it too much because I think we can talk about it properly, but this is, it's nice that this all worked out. And I also think perhaps for someone, you know, who isn't as as much game dev experience as some of us would think, you might do this a better way. Trust me, this is the best way. So you can actually see how it all works now, right? So there's 3 Hesters. So you have the one you meet her the first time, the one where she ends up, and the one that's part of the sequence. And so the sequence plays out. So I just scroll it down. She comes down there, walks over, and then walks over to there. Perfectly matches, and then switches with that one. So actually this has been really nice, because what's happened is Rex has gone back and added some things for our doors and other things so they can work with sequencer, so we can kind of fire it all off. And actually I suspect what's going to happen is that loads of our stuff will become that. Like, for example, this is a flipping sequence. Like, you know, you pull this lever, and rather than the lever itself going, do 10 things that are attached to me, I think it just goes play sequence, and then we can perfectly orchestrate all these elements in exactly the same way that this works. So I'm happy that it did. But anyway, to finish off, so you can see the horrific
Threster, the 3 Hesters.
The horrendous Threster. Yeah, see how a real game devs get done is, so there you go. Here's my very nicely named trigger. So you come up this lift, and it turns off. That Hester gets hidden, and then so the sequence gets triggered by this, because you can't get up there, which I was worried you could, but you can't. So it starts here, so it's got enough time to get running, and then basically we have an event that when the sequence finishes, what happens is, so the lift gets down to the bottom, Hester gets there, and then both the lift and Hester switch with the proper gameplay objects, because I've made sure that, of course, speedruns notwithstanding, but hey, we're hardly speedrun proof at this time. You can't get close enough to mess with it before it finishes. It's kind of our equivalent of the Half-Life 1 scientist behind glass thing, but hopefully, you know, slightly different. So I think we're going to do a lot more of that. So I thought it was worth actually talking about it. But other than that,
well, I mean, it's been a big time investment. Just getting sequences working globally with, you know, Paper 2D and Paper ZD and the whole tool chain for doing 2D stuff. And now that we've got the power to just make sprites do whatever we want, basically, whenever we want it to do it, as long as we take the care to avoid breaking the illusion of the interactive state when, you know, do it far enough away from the player.
Definitely, my aim was always that they use sparingly, and so this one was less like, oh, let's make a really cool thing. It was more like, okay, what we desire people to do is like, because if we zoom out a bit, you can see. So the kind of thing is, you know, you do this kind of, I guess it's kind of a spiral now, right? So you kind of come up here and go around here and come back down here, not quite a spiral, whatever. But then basically we bring you all the way down to the very bottom of the current map, and then really, you know, we'd like you to come straight back up. And the main thing with our game, and what kind of makes the stealth work because it's a reward, and what makes the parkour work because it's the same reward, is gaining height is actually quite difficult. So if we want to get you here quickly, you know, really we've got to force you through a couple of strongly encourage you to take a few lifts. So this one is mandatory at the moment to get out, but this one obviously isn't. So the whole reason for this is like, hey, let's do a thing that you know, will attract your attention, and also, while we're here, well, we can relocate a character, so potentially they could give you a new quest or something like that. So, you know, it was approached from a position of like, here are some things we want to do mechanically, like level design wise, and then we'll build the sequence, because wow, I mean, hey, we've kind of figured it all out now, but that took a long time to get it to work right. It's
interesting as well that you do basically ride 2 lifts in a row there, which you would think is something you shouldn't really do. It shouldn't be allowed, or 2 lifts in a row, that's awful. But it's strange that the first iteration of the lower lift was, I don't know how many units longer than that one. I remember having to shave that lift down, but it's quite a short lift compared to the other one. It was more, they're about the same. I suppose they're about the same length, really. But we both agreed it was definitely too long. You know, to ride a lift for that amount of time was just unacceptable. And I've never even really thought about it being bad that you come out there, you see the Hester thing, and then you jump directly onto another lift. Just that much space between lift A and lift B.
Yeah, and also
makes it feel totally fine. So.
Yeah, and obviously I've seen a few playtesters, so like we're not sure yet. But I I like that, potentially the idea is that someone, if I think of what I'm like, if I try and detach myself as much as possible, I imagine that I would come here and be like, okay, well, clearly that's what I'm supposed to do. I'll keep that in mind. But, in true Metroidvania form, right? This is the first time you've come back up here. You've got lockpicks. You could lockpick this door.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling there's something else, maybe not, but you could just go back round here, and maybe that obviously when we build the full game there will be more things over here.
Lockpicks are probably going to gate over to the right as well, because that's all that's the main kind of prisony stuff that's going to be underneath Vashti and Roshan and everything. So that space, if you stop, there's no reason not to. That's the thing, the stealth areas, there's no reason not to solve it now. You could go in there and kind of solve that stealth place now, so it's easy to get through. And then go back and speak to Roshan and Vashti and be like, hey.
Yeah.
Like, so go over here. And you're like, oh, I did that. It's easy now.
I think it's starting to work. And this is why I at some point I will delve for all the revisions. That's why, this area is like the most revisions of anything in the game, I think, because it's so...
Definitely. There's no thinking about
that. Because it's so critical. I mean, if you look at it now, I mean, I'm just actually stopping to think about it, step back from the past 6 weeks of work. You can literally enter and exit it from any direction. Once you come back up here, and once the cutscene plays, you can go any way through here. But we contrive it so that the first time you come through it, you can only go one way, and then the second time you come through it, okay, you could go back, but there's another unique route. So we get 3 or 4 goes through this, and it's one of those things you'd love to say, oh, we're just so amazing, we got it right the first time, but that just never happens.
No.
Ever. So
certainly not there. I mean, again, I don't know how many revisions that tile map has had, but it is the most. It's so many. But it's central to everything. I mean, that used to be the world origin at one point.
Oh yeah, it did, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, apologies. This is a local thing. I'm sure Arthur worried, oh my god, what has he changed? Nothing. It's just I turned it on to copy a piece out of it, and I forgot to revert it. Don't worry, everything is fine, because the tile maps are all locked down. Is this still in here, isn't it? Oops.
It's because it's part of because we have to pull in part of the melting pot.
Okay, fine.
So we kind of pull all of the melting pot in with it.
Yeah. But so I think that's basically everything. It's like, if you look at this, I'll have to definitely start taking screenshots to compare and contrast the old ones, but it's a lot there, it's a lot denser, and it's getting there. So I'm trying to think, I think it'd be good to wrap this milestone up, I mean, basically tomorrow, right? And then probably not look at it for a little while, and then there's a huge amount of things in the backlog to review, but it'll be good to just get a bit of distance and come back and think about what are the biggest things that aren't right. But it's got some Metroidvania stuff finally.
Well, I mean, that's what starts from next week, I think, is we go through the entire backlog and kill anything that needs to be killed with the greatest love and care. But it's dead. It's definitely dead. We're definitely going to kill it.
Yes, totally. And
think about refactoring with a view to being final implementations of systems, because we've got nearly everything that's gameplay critical now. We're still waiting on visibility occlusion, and that's it.
Yes,
and then everything else that's code heavy is just effects that can come along as and when. In terms of the tool chain and playabilities and everything, we're done.
We are.
So yeah, it's getting those stable in the shape that we want it to be, and then we continue to build out the world until there's a whole world and presumably a finished game.
One very much hopes.
Just the easy bit left.
Yeah, the easy bit. Just do it. Well, in all seriousness, in some ways, it is okay, just do this again 6 or 8 times. I can't remember how many. But yeah, it's a long way to go, but it actually seems like something we can do. So that's good. And on that mildly positive note, I think that's everything. That's as positive as I get. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thanks very much, everyone. It seems like every 2 weeks seems to be pretty about right, so we'll try and stick to that, and we'll try not to mess up a British Standard Time and GMT. I mean, we should be able to get BST right. It's us, but
fine, they'll be the same soon enough.
Good. Anyway, every couple of weeks. See everyone soon. Bye.
Bye.